If he doesn't, I'll ring him. Mate. That's what I'm thinking. Depends, he's going to be working. I know a few people who want.
Hello there. Morning. How are you? Is that a drum and
Yeah, that's the first piece banner.
They did it at Savile Road. Savile Road.
It used to hang in the offices then.
Gun. Nice.
Signature.
Flower.
Clear as cool.
Yes,
Well,
John
three.
It's a Brexit war banner.
So it's hung at the Apple,
Yeah,
the Apple
headquarters.
headquarters.
On the staircase.
And that's the cut-out heart.
Yeah.
Did you put your face through there?
Can you play?
You don't say.
Certainly not. We need somebody who knows it. Say it down to him. How much does it go?
She's playing for his brother's 60th birthday at the festival hall. It's quite rare for him to play publicly.
Really?
That's coming up actually quite soon.
Jimmy McCullough wing.
No. Because if you put it, it'll make it less visible.
Possibly. Have you seen all the legal?
Well, I saw the big article in the Independent on Sunday.
Yes.
Which,
It's all over the world.
which is great. I mean, it's in German. With Pete Best.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Do you need to know about this?
Yeah, I'll probably.
You can get the notes off the website.
Yeah.
it's easy to see.
See if it will stay there.
Steel, but
If I hold it like that, it might.
Don't damage the case though.
Maybe not. I don't think it will.
it's alright. I'll just kind of like that.
Okay.
Is that on enough?
No. See, it just tends to lean backwards that way. That's the problem. It's signed on the back as well. Do you want to see that?
And how, your title, what you'd like to be referred to on camera, please.
My name is Ted Owen, and I'm the Managing Director of the Fame Bureau, and the Fame Bureau deals exclusively in rock and roll and music memorabilia.
And so can I get you to explain to us what's going to be happening on Thursday's event with the products you've got here? The items you've got here.
Ding dong. So just pick it up from that
Yeah,
question.
yeah. So can you kind of explain?
Yeah, the auction, we hold 3 or 4 auctions a year, according to what we get comes through the doors and what we search for and what we find. But this auction's got some very spectacular pieces, historical pieces, mainly the piano that Paul McCartney wrote yesterday on, wouldn't write yesterday on, but was tested out on and first conceived on. It was called Scrambled Eggs, and didn't she have such lovely legs? And he was asked Al McCogan, who was a very famous star at the time. She had 18 number ones before she was 25, and she died very young, unfortunately. Then we have the very, very amazing document. It's like the Magna Carta to someone like me, which is the first Beatles recording contract, and it's the only recording contract in 1961, signed in Hamburg by Pete Best, when Pete Best was the drummer before he got fired when Ringo took over, because Ringo. We've also got an array of various other items from the Sex Pistols. We've got a very rare proof artwork, which Richard Branson, when he signed the Sex Pistols, they did a pastiche on the American Express card, and which was, the Pistols were always into spoofing and joking. And American Express actually said to Richard Branson, "We'll take you to pieces if you print that." And they didn't, but we do have the proof original artwork. We've also got a fantastic banner from the Apple offices in Savile Row, which was the first peace banner of John Lennon. And it was John Lennon and Mal Evans put it together. Mal Evans was the roadie right from day one. He used to drive them around in the old truck, you know, and it's basically got a gun with a flower coming out of it, and a knife, and it's an anti-war banner. And it hung in the stairwell of the Apple offices. We've also got a pair of Jimmy's famous red trousers, which actually are women's trousers, belonged to Kathy Etchingham, his girlfriend at the time. But he liked the fit, and they fitted nicely into his little boots. So he ended up wearing them quite a lot. And there's loads of pictures of him wearing these trousers because they've got a very funny sort of cross-section. But you asked the question, it's a rock memorabilia auction, but it's got a nice film element. There's Oliver Hardy's bowler hat. We've got some nice film pieces. We've got some great posters. The ranges are all different. You know, people think of these auctions, oh, it's always hundreds of thousands. It's not. You can buy something for £100, but you know, you need a few bob to buy the piano or the Beatles contract, which is it's a really historical piece, and the piano itself really yesterday is the most recorded song of all time and most covered song of all time. And to think that Paul McCartney actually sat there and figured it out. The funny thing was, Alma Cogan and her sister Sandra and her mother had an apartment, and everyone went to this apartment. Everyone from like Judy Garland to Cary Grant, and the Beatles became very friendly, and they used to go around there a lot and hang out and ask Alma's advice on songs. And Noel Coward, who's behind me here, was at the house one night. Paul, just after sort of thinking about, they used to sit there till 4 a.m, and he just sat at Noel Coward's feet in sort of admiration. He couldn't believe he was sitting next to this guy or looking up at this guy. And Alma's mum sort of took the boys in, I say the boys, the Beatles, as like surrogate sons. And she said, okay guys, enough's enough. It's 4 a.m. I want you all out of here. I'll make you some scrambled eggs. Paul goes, scrambled eggs? And that was the beginning of this very controversial idea of where the title comes from. But that's straight from the horse's mouth. So and he went, scrambled eggs, doesn't she have lovely legs? And then asked for a piece of score paper and started writing out the score. Unfortunately, I haven't got the score, but we do have the piano.
And how do you obtain these items? Are they donated personally to you or to your company, or how do you get them in the first place?
Our company is probably, we're very niche. We're not like the major auction houses that deal in antiques and jewellery. And we are the major company that deals in music memorabilia. So because of that, because we specialise and because we put everything into it, and because we love it, people come to us and they know that we will do a good job for them. And we're sort of pretty well known at getting the highest prices too, so that they like.
And what kind of people come to the auctions? Is it people wanting a special piece themselves, or museums specialising in music?
Tall people, short people. We have museums. A couple of museums around the world, and Liverpool, for instance, have been buying in the past Beatle pieces. MoMA in New York, they buy stuff. There's a couple of poster museums, big museums in San Francisco. Various institutions buy. But these days, investment is one of the big drivers, because people are now watching and seeing that you can buy something for 500 quid, and 5 years later it's worth 5,000. I mean, I'm making an example, but so the bankers and investors, they'd like to have a peace banner on their wall. It's better than having stocks and shares, and it makes them look more interesting. And bankers have got a hard job to sort of live up to these days. So,
does
talking point.
Paul McCartney know that you've got the piano? Do you think it might be something that he'd be interested in buying back?
If he doesn't know we've got this piano, he must be blind, because it is all over the internet. Full page in the Independent, etc., etc. So, yeah, I'm sure he knows, yeah. He was very, very, very fond of the Cogan family, and he definitely knows that we have it. I'm sure of that.
And which items are you thinking you might go for the most?
I'm very biased because I like paper, so I think the contract will fetch a very good price. The piano should definitely fetch a good price. The Hendrix is always popular. The banner from John Lennon, I mean, you know, is historical. You talk about Damien Hirst and people like that. This guy blows them off the map. But there's other smaller things, like, you know, the Oliver Hardy bowler hat is a great little piece, you know, and it's not expensive, it's fun, you know, and people still watch Oliver Hardy, you know, they stay up late at night, you know, they go to a gig and come and see what a fine mess they got themselves in.
Brilliant. Well, that's great. I think we've got everything we need there, haven't we? If we're going to look at the contract, that'd be awesome. If we maybe get a shot of you holding it, and then we can also just look at it in detail, couldn't you? Yeah. Thank you very much. This do you want to maybe come around this side if that's alright?
Can we do you taking it out of here?
Yeah?
Because it just gives it much more of a sort of...
First a wide angle and then like just zoom out the contract.
Well, we can.
Mix it out.
Or how do you want to do it?
Well, actually, if you
or do you just want to hold it down,
maybe
take pictures of the pages, or you can do whatever you want.
I mean, if you take it out to start with, that can be a nice bit of B-roll, and then you can just show it to the camera. Maybe just, I don't know, point out the names or the spelling mistakes, because that was funny.
Yeah.
And then later on, you can just get a few close-ups of it.
I need the goggles for this one.
All right.
Am I showing you?
Yeah. So if you could just show us the contract and just any details on it.
Do you want me to speak?
You can speak. Yeah, you can speak to me, and then just.
Well, this is the holy grail of Beatle contracts, and it's really the holy grail of all music, really, because the Beatles they put pop on a whole new level, and this contract's all in German. They didn't know what they were signing. It was 7 pages of German writing, and it's Paul McCarthy. Sounds like a Chinese restaurant. And it was when Pete Best was in the band. He was the first drummer. Man Love Avenue, which was Men Love Avenue. So they didn't even check to see in English what they were writing, what they were signing. So you can imagine the state. The rumour has it that, you know, they'd been up all night, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they would sign anything to get a record deal. But this contract does a lot of things, because all of the experts, particularly the most respected one, Mark Lewinson, had heard of this contract but didn't know it existed. But it says here, 1st 17, 1961. And everyone was asking, well, why would they sign a record deal without, you know, and then sign this contract later? But the actual fact is it set the record straight in many ways. And so it says here, basically, you'll earn about £2 a night, £8 a week for performances. Royalties, after everything's been taken off the top, you'll get the few pennies that are left over. But it was a deal. And this deal, they were working at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. And basically, they were just a group of many, many groups that were working in Liverpool, out of Liverpool, the Mersey sound, the Mersey beat sound. So all of the bands, a lot of bands were going to Hamburg to get recognised. And as soon as this contract was signed and they had a record deal, they had a record on the market. And in those days, having a record, a single, was like being a superstar, you know, a big, big superstar. So they suddenly became huge in Liverpool because of this record deal. And they were working with a guy called Tony Sheridan, who they used to back up as the backing band. And he, at the time, was licensed to sign people for Deutsche Polydor, German Polydor. And Bert Kaempfer was a very, very famous band leader at Bert Kaempfer Orchestra. huge in Germany and also huge in Britain at the time. So Tony Sheridan went to a guy called Albert, who was Bert Camford's sort of scout, and they ended up signing this deal for a year. And it runs from the 1st to the 1st of the 7th of June 1961 to July 61 to June 1962. So it's a year-long contract. Now, up until now, everyone believed that this contract, if it ever existed, and most people didn't think it did exist, was sort of nullified by Epstein in December of the same year. It wasn't. It was actually nullified in May, and there is a document that is now been proven that gives us that information. So this is changing all the history books. There's not only been a great document, it's changing all the history of the Beatles' progression. So we come to all of the silly spelling. Very basic contract. I mean, now you've got a 17 or 18 page contract, which they call a 360, which just covers everything. But this is signatures.
Yeah, do you want to hold it like that for a few seconds?
There's John Lennon at the top, and Paul McCartney is calling himself James Paul McCartney. George Harrison has just turned 18, so he was he was originally playing in Hamburg illegally because he was underaged. So he went back to England and played with the Beatles, of course, but he couldn't play in Hamburg until he was 18. So he just got 18 when he signed there. And right at the bottom there's Pete Best. And Pete Best was the prettiest Beatle. And the girls used to scream, you know, Pete, 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 you know. But when Astrid Kirchner designed their hairstyles, pretty much like yours, you know, Beatle cuts, he refused and kept his sort of, you know, quiff, his Teddy Boy quiff. So in early 62, Epstein saw them play the Cavern, because Brian Epstein was actually, he was a record shop owner, and he was selling records, so he'd hear every new record that came out, and he heard this band, thought, okay, they're a Liverpool band, go down the Cavern and check them out. So,
Can we unplug the mic?
Yeah, we want the whole conversation. Do you want us to just hold up the contract to the camera as well, just so we can get...
so we finished with that?
Yeah, unless you've got anything else you want to add.
No. Well, no, just that Brian Epstein was he was actually he was a record shop dealer. So that's how he got to hear the first single. First singles made the Beatles, and they then became famous in Liverpool. And this is the contract, and it's their only recording contract. Epstein had a management contract. This is the only recording contract. So this is British Museum, without a doubt.
Are you
No, I'm
worried
not
about
kidding.
safety? Are you worried about its safety?
Terrified.
Have you been like safeguarding it? And...
Yeah, well, you see, I'm not letting go in my bag, and I'm not going to even show it to you in case you flash it around the world. No, I mean, it's you know, to touch it is quite amazing. You know, I know it looks like I'm handling it brutally, but I'm not. I'm used to holding paper. But yeah, it's when I picked it up, I couldn't sleep. I barred the door. I was in Hamburg, and I barred the door and called in room service, and every little chink in the middle of the night, my bag, you know, and sort of running across to the, you know. So yeah, I'm terrified of holding it and losing it. So
You'll have to let it go soon, won't you? On Thursday,
yeah.
you'll have to let it go.
Well, I want it out of my life, you know. It's too much responsibility. So that's
Great.
That's the best document that has ever come up in any rock and roll auction on the planet, ever.
Yeah, it doesn't get much bigger than that, does it?
It's tiny, but it doesn't get any bigger than that.
Is that okay?